Modern Warfare 2 will forever be etched into history as one of the greatest games of all time. Let me show you why. Hello everybody and welcome back to the Tylord channel. Today I am covering Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 and my experience with it. I am so excited as this is one of my all-time favorite games and fills me with nostalgia. To quickly explain this video format, I recently completed a veteran difficulty run of Modern Warfare 2 and will be giving a retrospective about the game and describing the run itself. This is part 1 of my Modern Warfare 2 video, so make sure to look out for part 2 soon. This is also the third video in this series, and I will be continuing up until Black Ops 2. So without further ado, let's get into it. The game starts off with a few cutscenes and kind of catching us up, so I'll just do that for you here. After killing Zakhaev at the end of the first game, he becomes a sort of martyr, and the ultranationalist movement takes over Russia and seizes a controlling party in their government. Zakhaev's second in command, a man known simply as Makarov, is the primary antagonist of the game, and is seen as too radical and extreme even for the ultra-nationalist government, as he wants Russia to instantly re-enter a warring period to restore the Soviet Union. Meanwhile, the US continues fighting in the Middle East with Task Force 141 under the command of a General Shepard, who are seeking to hunt down Makarov. Shepard was the general who lost 30,000 men to the nuclear explosion in the first game, and will also serve a large part in this story that we will get to a little bit later. Well, that's about all for setting up the scene, and we enter the tutorial mission and begin our run. Much like the first game, Modern Warfare 2 also opens up with a tutorial mission, this time in the deserts of Afghanistan, playing as Private Allen as I go through training, learning how to aim my gun and throw grenades. So guys, make sure to take some notes here because this is all very high level stuff. Anyways, I make my way to the training course where I make it a rule the game needs to recommend me veteran difficulty, otherwise the run doesn't count. But you know me, and I mop it up first try and make this absolute god run, and we can actually get into our first mission of the campaign. During the loading screen, General Shepard decides to mansplain about American international policy and how America can't sit out any war as we must bring freedom to our new empire. He also drops this little wisdom nugget.
History is written by the victors.
Team Player opens up with me driving to the middle of a firefight in Afghanistan. The truck I'm driving in is hit by an RPG, and I am thrown out of it as Shepard, posing very epically, grabs me up and throws me into the action.
Get up, Private Allen! Rangers lead the way! Move!
Also, I'm going to start our vehicle gets hit by some type of explosive and I'm thrown out of it counter, just for fun because it definitely won't happen again. I quickly died twice, showing me early on just how difficult Veteran can be in this game. After clearing out the enemies across the river, a convoy comes to pick me up and take me across the makeshift bridge. Hopping up into the gunner's seat, we get our first on-rail section as the convoy makes its way through the narrow and crowded streets while suspicious figures occupy the balconies above. I just try to take one of them out, but apparently there's something called an unarmed target. Whatever. The convoy, very surprisingly, gets ambushed and the driver crashes his way through the streets as I hold down the trigger, taking down every enemy I see. The truck, for the second time in this mission, gets hit by an RPG as I'm thrown out of it. I head into a school being used as a terrorist base that I can clear out pretty easily. After successfully making my way to the evac zone, Shepard recruits me as he tells us we are under his command now with new special orders.
Breaks over, Roach. Let's go.
Cliffhanger is one of my favorite missions in Call of Duty history. The way we are introduced to Soap, going from our playable character in the first Modern Warfare to now being my badass leader, is awesome in this stunning scenery. After taking a moment to soak in the beauty, I take control of Roach, a newer member of Task Force 141, as Soap and I are tasked with collecting a lost ACS module which contains data on the US Defense Network. In the only time this mechanic is seen in the game, I get to ice pick my way up the side of the mountain. Following Soap's lead, I make a stunning leap of faith and almost fall to my death before I get pulled up and can finally grab my weapon and start the mission as we head into the Russian airbase. One thing I love in this game is the higher emphasis on stealth, which I try to utilize in this mission, but sadly I end up just getting spotted over and over and have to kill everybody who kind of just run at me through this single doorway. I work my way through a snowstorm and set up C4 that we will get back to in just a moment. Meeting back up with Soap, I grab the module and return to see the boss getting interrogated by a few nice men. I alleviate the problem by setting off those little explosives I planted and gunning down the distracted soldiers. Since the party starts getting a little too hot, we decide we want to leave and head through the exploding runway. I finally get my first death to the snowmobile squad, but thankfully after we kill them I get to take that puppy for a ride. This sequence is one of my favorite in the game as I race down the mountain on the snowmobile, gunning down everything in my way. There is also a Spec Ops mission of this segment that I used to play over and over, trying to compete with my friends for the fastest time. The mission ends in glorious fashion. And we are on to the single most controversial mission in all of gaming. No Russian needs no introduction. This mission made headlines across the world and was banned in multiple countries and further edited in others. I remember watching the morning news and seeing a surge of reporters saying video games caused violence, sparked by how insane this was.
A popular new video game actually allows you to be a terrorist and kill people. Take a look.
This was especially shocking for a game that came out in 2009 during the heart of the US's actual invasion of Afghanistan and war on terror. The threat of terrorism was still fresh in the world's mind, and many of my friends were not allowed anywhere near this game. I'm not going to show much footage from this mission as it can get the video censored, but I do want to play out the infamous intro sequence before the violence begins.
Remember, no Russian.
Playing as Private Allen, now undercover as one of Makarov's men, he has a diabolical plan to launch a false flag terrorist attack on the Zakhaev International Airport. After the attack, we move outside to fight off the police force coming to stop us. I quickly mop up them piggies as we head towards an ambulance for our escape. Before the mission can end, however, Makarov executes us. Revealing he knew we were undercover the entire time, leaving the scene with nothing but our American body, cementing into the minds of every Russian that the United States was behind this deadly attack. Back with the task force in the slums of Rio, we are hunting down Rojas, the supplier of the ammunition used in the attack, trying desperately to find Makarov and prove he was the one behind it. As I'm watching safely from my car, Rojas' second in command suspects foul play and kills my driver before I hop out and run after him and take him down, the same way as Achilles. As Soap begins his humane interrogation,
Meat and Roy's,
and I head into the favela to look for where he could be hiding. The favela is filled to the brim with hoodlums though, and the first difficult section of the run begins. Enemies are everywhere, from behind doorways to running around on the scrap metal roofs. They do end up killing me a good few times here. Both Meat and Royce get taken down as I use my super speed sprint to run past as many people as I can and finally get a checkpoint. I get word that Rojas is on the run and it's my job to cut him off as I ascend the favela. If I thought the last part was challenging, this would change my mind as gangbangers are posted up behind every window and cover imaginable, killing me over a dozen times. I use each house to my advantage, clearing one out before pushing into it for cover as I desperately try to move forward. As difficult as veteran difficulty can be at times, the speed at which you can kill and run past enemies combined with the ample checkpoints makes every mission in this game feel doable. A far cry from the brutality that was World at War. I finally catch up to Rojas as he runs right into the WWE Slam Down.
He's gonna get away! No, he's not.
Oh!
Sierra Delta, we may have a minor ACS fault here. Do you have anything on your scope?
They're everywhere!
Sierra Delta, repeat.
I'm looking at fighter jets over I-95! How the hell did they get through?
Act 2 of the campaign kicks off hot with the Russians launching a surprise invasion of the United States East Coast. While I genuinely enjoy every mission, the ones taking place stateside are what truly set this game apart, as the fight has come to our land for the first time in Call of Duty history, which I will talk more about later. Wolverine starts off drawing heavily from the 1984 movie Red Dawn, with Russian paratroopers covering the sky like a flock of birds as the suburbs of DC have turned into a war zone. I take control of Private Ramirez of the Army Rangers as our truck is surprised by a Russian BTR waltzing down Main Street, throwing us out yet again. I cut through the backyards, following behind the BTR trying to stay out of sight as I lay down the worst smokescreen imaginable, but thankfully it must have startled the BTR as I'm able to just kinda jog on past it. My squad, led by the valiant Sergeant Foley, is tasked with rescuing a VIP referred to simply as Raptor. I love that I am able to just fight a full-on war in the most American place imaginable, with fast food restaurants and huge parking lots surrounding me as I take a rooftop to repel incoming Russian forces. Suddenly, missiles start raining down on us coming from a Predator drone being remotely controlled nearby. Pushing across the highway here was difficult from the large open space and BTRs that will insta-kill me if spotted. I die a few times here and take a small break to admire this beauty from Burger Town. She does 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 patties. Burger Town stacked burger. Brother, why would I go anywhere else? I finally kill the operator and take his laptop for myself, allowing me to send some presents to the rest of the troops in the area. Back across the highway, the restaurant with Foley and Raptor gets airstriked, somehow surviving as he barks the greatest command in history.
Secure the Burger Town!
Raptor gets moved into Burger Town as another group of soldiers and 2 attack helicopters assault our position. I get my first experience with the thermal in this game, which is the first Call of Duty to have it, and for some reason is really nostalgic to me. I grab a Stinger and quickly take down the choppers, clearing the way for a convoy to pick us up and begin moving into Arcadia to help with the civilian evacuation there. Back with the 141, we learn that the only information Rojas has is that Makarov really hates some dude in a gulag. That's probably not important. And the local gang militia begins surrounding our location as a returning character, expert pilot Nikolai, is heading our way for evac. Trucks with gunners in the bed drive at me as the favelas fill with enemies. I am able to clear the initial area first attempt and begin pushing through the alleys surprisingly easily after the hell that was the last mission here. I get a nice view of Cristo Redentor as I ponder how the hell we are in the middle of a Rio firefight with no signs of police anywhere. Or maybe that actually isn't that shocking. Anyway, I make it to the landing zone where Nikolai tries to land his heli before RPGs scare him off, forcing me to head up on the rooftops and sprint to the backup point. While jumping across 2 roofs, I fall down to the streets below, waking up to the screams of Soap and Ghost.
Roach! Roach! Wake up! Roach! We can see them from the chopper! They're coming for you, dozens of them!
This section is another one that was burned into my memory as the anxiety from the countdown and bullets crashing all around me are unforgettable. I slide down and make a mad dash towards the ladder hanging from the chopper, and forget to press the jump key. But you know what they say, second try's a charm. An interesting part of this game is how often it will switch between playing as Roach and Ramirez, going mission to mission for most of the game, whereas the previous CODs let you stick with one group for a while before switching. I really do like the change in this game, as jumping between battling on 2 different fronts lets you have a completely unique overview of the war itself, giving us some perspective from the front lines of 2 massive armies clashing, juxtaposed with fighting the shadow war behind the scenes in this world where misinformation has caused a 3rd world war. Now getting into the mission itself, Exodus starts with us making our way to where Russian forces have set up anti-air guns, stopping the evacuation process from happening. Another unique vehicle mechanic in this mission is I get to use a laser designator to control where our BTR, codenamed Honey Badger, I love this little guy, he's such a cutie, will aim its cannons while I slowly make my way through the subdivision, clearing out and using these very, very nice houses, which are probably still appreciating in value mid-firefight, which just says a lot of the current state of things. But anyway, the difficulty is relatively low in this mission. I only end up dying a single time through this first section. On our way into the neighborhood of Arcadia, Overlord calls in telling us we have a secondary objective once the anti-air guns have been taken out. Sergeant Foley also shows us an amazing display of badassery.
Why are they so far ahead? Oh wow, that was sick.
I reach the AA guns, mark them with my laser, and watch as artillery knocks them out. Instead of Overlord, General Shepard actually calls us and says we need to extract a VIP from a panic room in a nearby burning down house. However, when we arrive, we see him already dead, but no sign of forced entry. This detail is something I only noticed for the first time this playthrough, and I want to explain what it means for the story. Essentially, this VIP had the information that would show Makarov was behind the airport attack and show the war started under false pretenses, which is why the dead soldiers in the house are tatted up like Makarov's men, as he wouldn't want this information to get out. On the other side, there was no forced entry because Shepard likely had him killed because his goal is to extend this war to eventually invade Russia and become the hero he has always wanted to be. Okay. Enough of my yapping, let's carry on. On their pursuit of Makarov's op, prisoner 627, the 141 need to make their way to a gulag inside of Russia, but cannot get any air support as the ultranationalists seized oil rigs off the coast as makeshift SAM sites, using the workers as human shields so the US can't just bomb it. Like that has stopped us before. This is another extremely unique mission as I start off underwater, getting launched out of a submarine on little personal rideable torpedoes, which are just really silly, but I love them. I swim up to the oil rig and quickly assassinate the unsuspecting guard, allowing me to climb up and enter our first of multiple breach sections. The breach ends poorly because apparently I am not allowed to shoot the civilians, but it's not my fault that they are getting in the way. The second attempt goes a little bit better, and I move on to the next breach while I take that one down first try. We set up a little booby trap by planting C4 on the bodies and waiting for the investigators to come, who are met with our surprise party and setting the whole rig into full battle. Our best buddy Ghost helps us take down a little attack chopper.
Ghosts don't care.
Finally, on the top platform, I utilize thermal sight weapons to counter the smoke screen being dropped for enemy cover. After a few attempts, I make it to the final breach room filled to the brim with C4 laced oil drums. A couple of well-placed shots later, and I have secured the oil rig and can begin our assault of the gulag. Equipped with a sniper rifle and riding on the side of a little bird, beside support jets, is one of my favorite cinematic moments in the entire game as they clear the way into our raid on the gulag. I get to relax and snipe enemies in the tower as the US Navy jets continue to strike the gulag, showing they don't really care if we get the prisoner out or not. Once I land, I check the difficulty really quick.
Feels easy, bro. You sure this is veteran?
Which I quickly will regret as I start getting absolutely destroyed in this opening section. I eventually clear out the courtyard and can begin descending into the prison towards the control room. While Ghost attempts to locate the prisoner on the computers, the squad and I work around the tight corridors surrounding this panopticon.
Panopticon.
I find myself down in the armory where I lay prone while multiple enemy squads begin shooting me from all angles. I grab a riot shield and learn it is the single most broken thing in this entire game, making the difficulty of veteran disappear instantly as I just run up and bonk enemies to death. Just take a look at this.
What are they gonna do, bro? A riot shield.
Target at 9 o'clock.
Wait, the game's easy mode!
The rest of this mission was insanely easy using this strategy until I get to a final breach section where I enter a large open bathroom with tons of enemies who are also abusing the riot shield strat. I sadly have to resort to sitting back and sniping the enemies as even the riot shield couldn't overcome this section. I descend down further to the bottom of the gulag, breaching the wall which contains prisoner 627, who we soon see is a familiar face.
Please don't kill me.
Drop it!
Soap.
Price.
Place?
Oh, that's so
This
cute.
belongs to you, sir.
I love. Oh, that's so
So-
good.
Our reunion with Price gets cut short as the Navy begins its final bombing run, causing the Gulag to collapse all around us as we make a mad dash to an exit. Hitting a dead end, I get struck by debris and knocked out. Price picks me up as Soap shoots a flare as this movie-esque sequence plays out.
Firing on the way. Let's go! Let's go! Move on! Go! Hang on!
One little thing I would like to add is that we actually don't learn that Captain McTavish is Soap until Price says it in this mission, revealing that our playable character in the first Modern Warfare has been the one leading us the whole time, even though I'm sure all of you knew that before you even clicked on this video. But without further ado, let's get into the final mission of Act 2, of Their Own Accord. The emergency broadcast system blares as I fanboy over how amazing this game is.
Oh, this game is so good. This game is so good.
In the best campaign in the entire series, filled with tons of incredible missions, Of Their Own Accord somehow shines above all the rest. I wake up in a bunker full of wounded soldiers and people scrambling to piece together any semblance of defense. Sombering music plays, emphasizing the feeling of despair of our own capital being captured right before our eyes, knowing we are currently losing this war. Emerging from underground to see the Department of Commerce half destroyed and the streets of DC turned into rows of trenches as tanks and missiles fire from all sides is simply sublime. I make my way inside the building and begin going hall by hall, clearing out the Russians who have taken control of the building as a base to fire their javelins from. I clear out the sniper's nest overlooking the Washington Monument being used as an evac zone for our troops, and get to man an extremely long-range Barrett 50 cal to defend them. I grab one of the javelins and take out the armored vehicles and helicopters attacking the monument, giving them valuable time to escape. I have to quickly run through, though, as a large force is closing in on my position, and I hop on the chain gun of our own heli. This on-rail section, very reminiscent of the one in the first Modern Warfare, is again amazing, as I get to just sit there and destroy dozens of tanks, choppers, and RPG squads. Multiple rockets strike us, sending the helicopter into a fiery spin as we crash onto the streets below. I wake up to find my squad dying before my eyes as I am trapped inside with a single magazine left. When all hope seems lost, a blinding light turns the screen to white, ending the mission and Act 2 of the campaign. To end on a cliffhanger like this last mission, this will be the end of Part 1 of my Modern Warfare 2 veteran gameplay and retrospective. I hope you guys all enjoyed, and if you did, make sure to like and subscribe. I'm going to instantly start working on Part 2, and I hope to get it up pretty soon after this first video so that I can continue with the series and move on to Black Ops 1. The next video I will end up finishing the rest of the campaign and also go a little bit more in depth on the Spec Ops mode and the multiplayer mode so that that video feels rewarding in its own way, as well as giving my closing and overall thoughts of Modern Warfare 2. So thank you guys so much for watching, and until next time, peace.